boys are back. The boys are back. The boys are back. I don't know how else to start off this video. Good day everyone and welcome to Orf, it's Philip here, and you know it's that album review time, I mean, come on! Today we're looking at the 7th full-length record by the Djent behemoth known as Periphery. And we're in P5 territory with Djent is not a genre. Not. Is it an overstatement to call Periphery the pinnacle of Djent at the moment? I don't think so. It feels like Periphery has been at the top of their game ever since 2016's P3 album. And while Select Difficulty had a high concentration of Periphery's most popular bangers, P4 was the one that really turned my head. I haven't really considered doing a personal top 10 albums of all time video for this channel because if I did, I feel like my opinion would change very quickly and the video would be outdated almost immediately. But when thinking about what those top 10 albums would be, Hailstand comes to mind almost every single time. This is one of the only albums that I can truly say from beginning to end I have little to no low points to mention. And in 2020, Reptile was my most played song of the year on Spotify by far. Can my opinion on that change in the future? Obviously, but yes, I am going into this as a fan that has been listening to Periphery faithfully since 2019. However, with Hailstand leaving such a fantastic impression on me, that only makes the shoes for P5 to fill much, much larger. And that's the big question, right? How does P5 compare to P4 and other earlier records? Oof, that is a question, let me tell you. Now, when I heard the singles for this record, mainly the first two singles, I assumed that this was going to be a very heavy hitter. It seemed like the focus of this album was going to be shifting away from the melodic anthem style from P3 and P4 in favor of more chaotic and just dense tracks a la Blood Eagle and Church Burner. It turns out that's not exactly the case. There's still plenty of melodic, clean vocal sections and a healthy amount of experimentation as well. Are you done? Cool. So yeah, I think fans of any Periphery era can find something to enjoy here. Is it as good as P4? Yeah. Now let's get this straight, every song on here does have something to offer. And by modern metal standards, for most people, P5 will probably at least meet expectations. But when it comes to Periphery standards, to me, it just feels like there's something missing. This album kicks off with the main single, Wildfire, and what a killer opening. This seemed to me like the Blood Eagle of the album, you know, just non-stop fight music. Or at least non-stop until about 4.5 minutes in, where the band takes a break, and instead of keeping that consistent dynamic level, we go into a minute-long smooth jazz saxophone section. And like, I get it, it's cool and unique to have a smooth jazz section in the middle of a metal song. Oh dude, did you hear Wildfire? First it was metal, and then it was jazz, and then it was metal again. It's fucking genius. Look, I love this song. But this jazz section, just why here and why now? Why at this point in this song did this have to be here? There really isn't much effort placed into the transition. Like, we're in the middle of the second chorus and then it just stops and goes directly into the ride cymbal and soft piano chords with nothing in between. And then when the band has decided that their break is over about a minute later, they're back to full volume and start the next chorus with like one measure of buildup. I like that they're not keeping the entire song one dynamic level the whole way through. That's good. But what I've been experiencing for the first 4.5 minutes was not preparing me for it to just drop off for a minute-long breather. As a result, if I'm in the mood to listen to this song up until this point, this section just becomes more of something that I want to skip through so that I can get to the epic heavy ending, even though the section itself is great. Look, I get creativity comes in all forms, but there are better ways to do this, and Periphery has shown in the past that they can transition between genres with much more finesse than this. I love both sections independently of each other, but I truly don't think they meshed as well as they could have. But anyway, one short movie soundtrack transition later and we kick off the song Atropos, which to me honestly was a great single. While it lacks the intense edge that the other two singles had, Atropos is one of the most entertaining songs on the record. It feels like every section and transition is positioned perfectly for a great experience. Fantastic band synergy, fantastic vocals from Spencer, guitar work is precise, just a really great and fun track. And this song also ends with an orchestral transition that makes me feel like I'm playing Halo Reach. Wax Wings. Now here's a track that I can really get down with. It's bouncy, it's got a kick-ass chorus, a gorgeous ending, some fantastic performances from all the boys. Really, this ended up being one of my favorites on the record. Can't quite say the same about the next track, Everything Is Fine, though. Oh, sorry, Everything Is Fine! I love my chaotic heavy tracks as much as the next guy, and this one starts out reminding me of Church Burner, a track that I love. But I think this one just drags on a little bit longer than it should without providing any big enough transitions to keep me interested. The ending is cool. I love the breakdown that gradually slows in tempo, but getting to that point is a process that is kind of forgettable despite being so heavy. With Silhouette, we turn the heat way down for an extremely relaxing and beautiful ambient pop track. It starts out reminding me a lot of Satellites, but rather than transitioning into a full band sound by the end, it stays rather sublime the whole way through, with the focus just being on synth and Spencer's vocals. Here's the thing with this one. When Spencer isn't giving us otherworldly screams, transcending highs, or some filthy spoken words, his singing voice sounds a little, I want to say pop punkish. And that's fine, but with this chilled out electronic mix, I don't think this fits as well as it could have. I would have loved for Spencer to pull out some awesome vocals on the lower register or something. But sadly, this type of vocal performance on this type of track without changing his style at all sounds a bit like oil and water clashing to me. I had a similar problem with the vocals on tracks like Loon, for example, but at least from the beginning of that song, we know we're getting something with a full band, which complements these vocals better. In the case of Satellites, I also think it fits better than it does here. I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it just felt a little bit overlooked to me. So after this, we head into the track Dying Star, which is pretty good. At about 2:43, we get one of my favorite melodic guitar riffs on the whole album, accompanied perfectly by Spencer's vocal melody. The song ends with a bigger, more open, repeating chorus and a little music box outro. There's not a lot going on in the second half of this song, but it's alright, it gets the job done, I guess. It kind of serves as a nice bridge between the chilled pop sound of Silhouette and the heavy hitter Zagreus. Yet another song named after a Greek mythological character. And as far as Djent goes, yeah, it's a bop. Bop confirmed. The guitar solo at 3:45 is absolutely soaring, and the chords here remind me a lot of Priestess. Periphery fans will understand all of the callbacks to and influence from the Juggernaut records that are littered throughout P5. Spencer's vocals are killer on the following section, and yeah, there's not many problems at all with this song. It's up there with Wax Wings for me. Yet another orchestral movie-style transition later, and we're in the final stretch of the record. There is no 17-minute long masterpiece like Reptile on this record, but rather most of the songs are longer than usual, with the final two tracks being 12 minutes and 11 minutes respectively. But don't be fooled, because a good portion of that time is spent on orchestral stuff rather than Djent. What does Dracul Gra? What does Dracul Gra even mean? These song titles are starting to get extremely Dungeons and Dragons-y. Someone on Reddit said that this song title literally translates to Fat Dracula, which if it does, fucking yes. It starts off nice and mathy and punchy, but it's a pretty average track to me. There's not really any terrible sections and nothing that I would classify as God tier. My favorite parts have to be the beginning section and the guitar solo beginning at 4:48. It is magnificent. But less than 1 minute after that solo, there is a soft section, and remember when I said earlier that I think Spencer could have given us some more low register on the song Silhouette? Yeah, I take that back, because he attempts that here, and it just does not work for me. I don't know, he's such a talented vocalist, but this part just... nah. This song can get kind of messy at points, but also has some elements that I really enjoy. I mean, that ending breakdown is just killer. And this one ends with a simple synth section leading into the final track, Thanks Nobuo. Evidently a reference to Nobuo Uematsu, the artist behind multiple soundtracks from the Final Fantasy video game series. Now, I never played any Final Fantasy games, so if this song is littered with references, then I will not understand them. As far as I can tell, any references come mainly in the form of lyrics, but if I'm wrong, sorry. Here's one thing I do know. This song is fucking amazing. I don't think it's quite as good as Reptile from Hail Stan, but damn, I'd be lying if I didn't say this is my favorite song on the album. From the chorus to the big open section towards the end that calls back to the opening melody to the full orchestra to finish off the album, everything on this song is pretty freaking fire. You know, P5 truly was a pleasure to listen to and really is a great album. I just couldn't help but feel that there was something missing when comparing it to previous records. To put it in one statement, I don't feel that the highest points on this album were quite as high as the highest points on P4 and even P3 for that matter. But minus a few mishaps here and there, this album ended up being consistently well thought out almost the whole way through. So yeah, I'm still waiting for Reptile 2.0, but I don't want that to discourage you from listening to this album because what is here, for the most part, is great. I would be comfortable putting this album right between a B+ and an A-. It doesn't have enough amazing parts that would catapult it to a higher score, but what we have here will exceed the expectations of most Djent fans. So yeah, there's P5. Djent is a genre. Saying it's not is dumb. It's stupid. Can you stop, please?